Thank you very much, Mary. So I did a little research on this. I have to admit I did it last night. But Wikipedia's definition of engineering is the discipline, art, and profession of acquiring and applying technical, scientific, and mathematical knowledge to design and implement materials, structures, machines, devices, systems, and processes that safely realize a desired objective or inventions. If you ever get to know me, I'm not very wordy, so this is a very wordy answer for me. So I found some other definitions. Engineers solve problems, and that's basically what we do. We see a problem, we see a need, and we find a solution. We turn ideas into reality. Engineering is the application of science. It's not a pure science in the respect of pure chemistry, pure physics. But I found this quote very, very interesting, and it's very true. Scientists study the world as it is. Engineers create the world that has never been. And that's exactly what we do. We make the world a better place. Engineering has been around for thousands of years. The pyramids of Egypt were constructed by architects/engineers, as was the Roman Colosseum as well. The Mayan, Inca, and Aztec empires would not exist without engineering principles that were developed and implemented. And in a lot of these cases, they didn't have formal sciences at the time, so they just saw a need, they needed to do something, and they figured out how to do it. They had nothing to build from. It influences our lives today. This is the Confederation Bridge in Prince Edward Island. I actually installed some corrosion inhibitors on Pier 34, so if you're ever there and looking at Pier 34, think me. Of course, the BlackBerry, and that's I think that's a Spider. I'm not very good with cars, so Ferrari Spider. As far as the cell phone go, I don't know if that's a good or bad invention, personally, but anyway. And it will shape the future. The top left picture is actually a concept car that I found on the web. There's all this, currently with global warming and stuff, engineers are going to be the ones that solve the problem. There is space exploration. There are a significant number of engineers that work for NASA and other space organizations within the world. And of course, medicine. Engineers are involved in the manufacture of all kinds of diagnostic equipment, the development of medicines, everything. Engineering impacts every facet of our everyday lives, and I think this is one of the problems. I know it was for me, as with Sandra. I didn't even know what an engineer was when I was in high school. Truthfully, I went through a lot of career options. None teacher, none lawyer. I went through the whole gamut, and I actually fell into engineering just because I actually started Queen's as a pure math student. I went through to go into education. I started off, and pure math just wasn't my game. And with respect to your question about math, just so you know, I wasn't a stellar student in university by any stretch of the imagination. I had to do first year physics 3 times in order to pass it. And I think chemistry, no, the other physics only once. So physics was my big, big problem. So anyway, engineering influence everything we see, the roads we build on, the buildings we work in and live in, the bridges we drive over, the infrastructure as far as sewers and water transport, electricity and communication grids, satellites, our energy sources, power plants, wind farms, solar panels, our everyday products, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, medicines, the cleaning products we use, television, computers, mobile phones, everything you touch has been touched or designed by an engineer. An engineer has had influence on everything we do or use. There are all kinds of types of engineering. When I first started, there basically was chemical, electrical, mechanical, geological, and civil. And that's about it. It has totally branched out since then. Aerospace, agriculture, applied math, applied physics, everything you could, and this isn't even all of them. This is the only ones that I could put on a slide and actually have you still be able to read. So, as Mary said, I'm in materials and metallurgical engineering, but now I work for a concrete company. The benefits of being an engineer: it is very challenging work. You will never be bored, that's for sure. It is a very, very team-oriented profession. You will never, and that's one of the main things that I learned in engineering in my undergraduate. If it weren't for working with other people, I don't think I would have graduated. It's as simple as that. It's a very cooperative effort. We have amazing career opportunities, as Sandra explained, because one of the, more than the technical knowledge I think you learn when you're in an engineering program, is you actually learn how to think and problem solve. And you can take that into any industry on this earth. And that is exactly why banks want engineers, traditional engineering firms want engineers, medicine wants engineers, politics wants engineers. Everybody wants an engineer because of our problem solving skills. And we'll always be in demand, simply because that every other facet of our lives and the world needs an engineer because of their thinking capabilities, as well as manufacturing. We're always producing things. We're always trying to make a better life for everyone on this planet. So there'll always be a demand. I am a materials and metallurgical engineer. I have a bachelor's, master's, and PhD. I work in a very male-dominated field, which is construction. Have I hit roadblocks because I'm a female? I don't think so. I don't think people look at me and say, oh, she's a woman, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I think they respect the fact that I'm an engineer, they respect the fact that I have a lot of education, and they respect the fact that I have something of value to give. I think the biggest obstacle, and I'll be totally honest with you, is that logic doesn't always rule. It's a very political world out there. I am also married, and I have 2 children, Sarah, who's 6, and Jacob, who's 4. So why should you encourage your daughters to go into engineering? Or anyone, actually. We need boys, too. It is ranked as one of the most trusted professions in Canada. You have to be good in and enjoy math and science, but you don't have to be stellar. I think some of the best people I've worked with, engineers, were not, top 10% of their class. But they had something else in them that their problem-solving skills were their biggest asset. You have to enjoy problem solving because they'll be throwing them at you left, right, and center. You're creative, and you like to figure things out. And I think the biggest thing, for me at least, was I want to make a difference, and you want to make the world a better place. I feel, and one of the main reasons why I've stayed in Canada is because I feel that I owe this country something. They have given me opportunities that I never would have gotten had I been in other places in the world. And I really do feel that I have a social responsibility to make this world a better place for my children and for everybody else. So why should women go into engineering? Because we need them. Plain and simple. Working in a male, and I'm really sorry guys, but working in a male-dominated field, I crave another woman to talk to. We offer a very, very different perspective on a problem. We look at things differently. We approach things in a more caring manner than, as Sandra said. And what I found this statistics, only 20% of undergraduate enrollment in engineering programs is women. But when you go out and look at how many women are actually professional engineers, it's 7%. So there's a lot more. It's still a very male-dominated field, and women can make a significant difference. I guess that's it. So if anyone has any questions? Yes?
I'm really interested in that statistics, and why is it in the 20% that are the undergraduate program and 7% are licensed? Do you have any input on that?
I don't really know. I think it's a lot of women, and a lot of engineers for that matter. I think the stat is only 60% of engineers actually remain in the engineering field.
Well, I think the other thing is you have to remember, it's not, you can still work as an engineer, and you don't sort of join the profession. So it's not really a reflection that there are only 7% of women working as engineers, but more, do they go and join the PEO type thing? And some companies don't require that, so there's probably like 40% of all engineers actually that are working as engineers join the PEO, so. Are there any other questions, or? Yes.
I'm just wondering what the actual percentage is for University of Waterloo with your engineering co-op. Like, is it as low as 20%? Only 20%?
At Waterloo, it's actually 18%. I think there's a couple of reasons for that.
That graduate or that enter?
Enter, 18% enter. It's about that percentage graduating too. Like right now in first year, we have about a 30% failure rate, but it's more the men that are failing. I think to choose engineering, women have to be that much better, and so they tend to succeed once they're here. So there's a couple reasons for that. I think there's a hesitancy to choose in Waterloo compared to some other programs. Other programs have a common first year, so you don't have to choose right away if you don't want to do mechanical or nano or whatever. So some girls feel more comfortable with that because they don't have to make the decision right away, whereas at Waterloo you need to choose right away. So we're thinking that may be one reason why. They may be intimidated by Waterloo because it's got this reputation or whatever, so they may be intimidated by the co-op as well. I'm not sure, so. But we're not that far off. That's sort of across the board now, around sort of 18, 19%. Calgary is actually quite high, but that's because of, I think, the work, in the oil and gas industry. Everybody sees it's a really good job. Yes?
Sorry, how many applicants do you get into your first year engineering program, and how many of them are women that apply that maybe don't have the marks and stuff to get in? Or not make the cutoff?
I'm not sure of those stats. We're actually going to have Phil Belzier, who's the director of admissions, talk, so he'll probably be able to answer that question, because I don't know what those numbers are, so afterwards. Yes?
I just alluded to something, I just want to have clarification. That 18% is at the admissions level. Do you have any idea what the percentage of the class is women when they graduate?
I believe it's around 18% still, maybe slightly higher, but it's around 18%. But again, I don't know if I haven't seen those numbers this year anyway. So, yes, at the back.
Have you results of any research with students, the female students, to across, and not necessarily at Waterloo, but it could be specific to Waterloo, that suggests why there are not as many completing their engineering studies, or if there anything about the system, university system, or the mix of student population and gender population that causes them to stop going into a male-dominated
You mean so they wouldn't even apply to go into engineering?
either through an application or through the university experience itself that causes them to.
Well, I think, again, once they're in engineering, we don't see a very high attrition rate out of engineering for girls.
So is it more before?
Before, and I think it's just, that's right. I think from my perspective and from what we've seen is they just don't know about engineering as a career. When they think of an engineer, they think of a mechanic, it's dirty work, they're building something, it's not very exciting, it's not very creative. And so it's just sort of trying to get rid of those misconceptions about what engineering is and how it can be sort of helping the world, I think. Like women tend to want to go into teachers, doctors, the things where they're interacting a lot with other people and helping other people. And they don't tend to view engineering that way. And that's what we're trying to sort of dispel some of those myths. Yes?
You had mentioned here, we were just talking, saying that girls going into engineering, a lot of them don't think about it. And then you said here at Waterloo, when they enter engineering, they have to decide
That's right.
first year what stream
Yep.
they're going to go into. Is there some kind of not counseling is what I'm saying, I don't, program available or somebody for them to talk to before they come to, before they apply to the program as to see which one they're better suited to, or?
There are people available, and I definitely, if they wanted to contact me or whatever, I can give you my information, I'd be happy to do that. We try and talk to the guidance counselors as well, so the guidance counselors at the schools will know, and we're at university fairs and things like that. So, and again, as Sandra said, you don't want to get too hung up on, you know, oh God, what am I going to choose now? This is going to set my course for the rest of my life, because now she's a chemical engineer working in sort of electrical engineering. So you don't, it doesn't sort of target you in this one stream and that's it. So
it's not difficult for them to change once they're in.
that's right, yeah. Or even to do a graduate degree in something else, or to do something else after.
Okay, so they're not locked in.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, any other questions? Or, okay, I think we'll just move on to. Oh, so thank you very much again, Laura.
Oh, you're welcome.